Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's Diego with a new video. The brand new updated USCIS form I-485, otherwise known as the application to register permanent residence or adjust status. This form expires on 10/31/2027 and it is edition date 10/24/24. This is the form you're going to use to apply for your 2-year green card. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, your conditional green card. Now let's get started. It's 24 pages. It's increased from 20 pages to 24 pages. Let's get started. Page 1 of 24 is information about you, the person applying for lawful permanent residence. So this is the beneficiary filling this form out. The sponsor can help, obviously. The first question they ask you in part 1, information about you, they ask, what is your current legal name? Well, your current legal name is, if you are a female and you took your husband's last name, your current legal name will be like Karina is Karina Ross. She took my last name. And then underneath there, it's going to put, they ask you other names you have used since birth. There, if you are a female who has taken your husband's name, you're going to put your maiden name. So part 1, question 1 is your last name or your married name, your first name, middle name, and then number 2 is your maiden name, Mrs. Beneficiary, your first name and your middle name. Then they ask you for your date of birth, and then they ask you, have you ever used any other date of birth? Well, that's an interesting question, right? Very interesting. Now let's move over to page 2 of 24. Page 2 of 24. They ask you, do you have an alien registration number? Well, yes, you do. You have an alien number, and if you don't know where it is, it's on your NOA2 letter under your name, by your name. And they asked in number 5, have you ever used or been assigned in any other alien number? Well, that's a good question, and you will know the answer to that, right? They want to know if number 6, if you're male, female, or another gender identity. Okay, well, that's interesting. They're going to ask your place of birth, your country of citizenship, and your online account number with USCIS if you know what that is. It's not necessary if you don't. It's not important if you don't know what your online account number is, okay? So relax on that. They ask in number 10 about your recent immigration history, and if you last entered the United States using a passport or travel document, they want to know what that information is. It's going to be your passport, no doubt. They want to know what country issued the passport, etc., etc. And then they ask you number 11, when I last arrived in the United States, I was inspected at a port of entry, admitted as example as what? Okay? Or number 2, I was inspected, admitted as what? Parole, Cuban parolee? Or you came into the United States without admission. That means you snuck in illegally. Most folks are going to put in question 11, page 2, check the little, put an X in the box. You were inspected at the port of entry and admitted as a K1, or if it's for a K2, a K2. Coming over to page 3, they ask you if you were issued a form I-94. Well, yes, you were. Everybody that enters the United States legally and has a conversation with a Border Patrol customs official will be issued an I-94. They will either staple it into your passport on a piece of card, or they will most definitely issue that to you in the computer, and you can go into the Border Patrol website and print at least 6 copies of your I-94 number. That number goes here, page 3, part 1, question 12. And then they ask you some other questions. Was your last arrival the first time you were physically present in the United States? Most likely you're going to say yes, unless you came here on vacation. And they ask, what is your current immigration status? Well, your current immigration status, number 14, is going to be K1 or K2. And then they ask the expiration date of your current immigration status. They're asking you for the expiration date of your I-94. Look on your I-94, and they will tell you, it's like you got 90 days to get married. They want to know the expiration date of your I-94. And they ask you, have you ever been issued an alien crewman visa? Have you ever been a pilot? Have you entered the United States as a pilot, etc.? And number 17, did you last arrive in the United States to join a vessel or as a seaman or a crewman while serving in any capacity? So were you in the Merchant Marines? Were you in a foreign navy perhaps? And then they ask you, number 18, your current U.S. address, physical address in the United States. And if you are living with somebody other than your sponsor, let's suppose you're going to be living with your sponsor's mom and dad or grandpa, you're going to put in care of those names if you're living with somebody else. But if you're living just with your American citizen sponsor under a roof, you're not going to worry about in care of. It's irrelevant. You put NA in there. And then a date you first resided at this address. When did you first move in? Okay, well, that's going to be the day you entered the United States of America. And they want to know if it's your current mailing address, etc. So page 3 of 24, very easy to fill out. If you have any questions, you can ask me questions, obviously, on the live stream. Now we're moving on over to page 4 of 24 of USCIS form I-485. Have you resided at your current address for at least 5 years? Well, you haven't, because you have only just got to the United States of America, right? Then they want, okay, well then they're going to ask you, where did you live for the last 5 years? So with Karina, she was from Venezuela, but she lived in Colombia for 6 years. So she only had to list her address in Colombia, although she had lived in Venezuela also. We just added that as extra information out on the last page of this form, which is page 24. So they just want to know where you lived and your most recent address outside of the United States of America. Let me see, they're coming on down to number 19, page 4 of 24. Social Security card. Has the Social Security Administration ever issued you a Social Security card? Well, you can apply for your Social Security card as soon as you get into the United States with your I-94, which I highly recommend you do. So then if you did get your Social Security number, it takes about 10 days to get it. You will put that information there in part 19. If you haven't applied for your Social Security card yet, it's no problem. You can let the Homeland Security folks apply for your Social Security card via the Social Security Administration by filling out this section, number 19, page 4 of 24. It's easy, folks. Now you're coming over to page 5 of 24, the part 2, application type or filing category. Very easy. Number 1 question, are you filing for adjustment of status with an executive office for immigration review? In other words, are you, in deportation proceedings? You could have, not got married within 90 days, and immigration sent you a letter of deportation, and now you've decided to get married, and you're trying to get this process done this way. And then they're going to ask you on number 2, I'm filing this form I-485, and you only select one box, and you're going to be the principal applicant, okay? And then you're going to put your name, first name, and last name. It's going to be your married name. If you are female and you took your husband's last name, you're going to put your married name as your last name. And then your alien number, your alien registration number, you can find it on your NOA2 letter, and your date of birth. And then they ask you some questions in 3A, family-based questions. You're applying. If you're under a K1, if you are applying as a K1, you're going to put an X in the block says you are applying as a fiancé. Okay, that's going to be 99% of you guys. And then you're going to fill out the rest of these questions and check the box that's applicable. Okay, very simple to do, guys. Don't overthink this. Now, page 6 of 24 is the application type or filing category, and it's employment based. So this isn't going to pertain to a K1 visa applicant or a K2 visa applicant, okay? This pertains to somebody coming in on a work visa. So you will skip past page 6 of 24 if you are on a K1 visa applicant or a K2. Page 7 of 24, USCIS form I-485, is going to be whether you are an asylum, asylee, or a refugee, you were a victim of some kind of crime, human trafficking, if you're coming into the United States under the Cuban Adjustment Act, additional options, etc. So it says here, number 4, if you selected a family-based, employment-based, special immigrant or diversity immigrant visa, etc., that's how you're going to apply. But this is not going to be pertaining to a K1 visa applicant or a K2 visa. So you're going to flip on over to page 8. On page 8 of USCIS Form I-485, they're asking if you are requesting for an exemption. This is part 3. Are you requesting exemption from your affidavit of support, USCIS Form I-864? No, you're not going to be requesting an exemption under a K1 visa, okay, or a K2 visa. So you're going to check 1F, none of these exemptions apply to me. I'm not requesting an exemption. I am required to submit an affidavit of support under the Section 213A of the Immigration and Nationality Act, Naturalization Act, or whatever INA means. Okay? So you're going to check block 1F. Little X goes in there, page 8 of 24. And on page 8 of 24, they ask you additional information about you, the Mr. Beneficiary, Miss Beneficiary, and they're interested to know if you've ever applied for an immigrant visa to obtain permanent residency before at a U.S. embassy. Is this your second K1 visa application, etc.? So you're going to fill that information out to the best of your knowledge, and then you're going to go to number 7, employment and in educational history. They want to know what your education history is. What do you have? A college degree? Do you have a doctorate? Do you have an engineering degree? Are you a medical? They just want to know about your school or your employer, etc. So you're going to come on over to page 9 of 24 and continue the additional information about you, your employer, company, or school, etc. And then, once you fill that out, at the bottom, part 5, information about your parents. This is the parents of the beneficiary. The foreign national that came to the United States under a K1 or a K2, they want to know who your mom and dad are, who are your parents, and their date of birth, etc. So now you're going to come over to page 10 of 24. You're going to continue the information about your parents, Miss Beneficiary, Mr. Beneficiary, and then they ask you in part 6 information about your marital history. Have you been married before? Are you divorced? Are you widowed? Did you have your marriage annulled? Etc., etc. And then they ask you information about your current marriage, including if you are legally separated. So now this is where they want to know the sponsor's name, the last name of the sponsor. Well, I'm Diego Ross. Okay, so on page 10 of 24, you're going to put in there the spouse's information. His alien number if he was a naturalized American. If your U.S. citizen sponsor was a naturalized American, he or she will have an alien registration number. You can find it on the naturalization certificate. So you're going to fill that out. Very easy to do, page 10 of 24. Now we're on page 11 of 24, part 6, information about your marital history. They want to know the number 9. Where did you get married to your current spouse? Well, we got married, Karina and I, we got married on Navarre Beach in Florida. So it would be Navarre Beach, the state of Florida, country United States, and the date of marriage. We got married on January 14th, 2024. And then they ask, is your current spouse applying with you? Well, that would be a question, yes or no, depending on if he's a green card holder or not. Okay, or you came into, so more than likely this is going to be a no. And then they ask you information about prior marriages. This is, the prior marriage of the spouse's legal name, provide family name, etc. And this is the beneficiary we're talking about here. Now we're on page 12 of 24, information about your children, part 7. Okay, indicate the total number of all living children anywhere in the world, including adult sons and daughters that you have. So they want to know where all your children are, how old they are, where they're located. Okay, child 1, child 2, etc. And if they have an alien registration number. If you're bringing a K2 into the United States, the K2 will have an alien number also. So fill out page 12 of 24. It's easy to do, ladies and gentlemen. And then you're going to come over to page 13 of 24, and you're going to put in the biographic information in part 8, the ethnicity, and then general eligibility and inadmissibility grounds. They want to know, have you ever been a member or involved in any organizations, funds, foundations, clubs, societies, etc. in the United States or in any other country in the world? No problem. Just fill it out. What organizations have you belonged to? More than likely, it's going to be none. Now, page 14 of 24 is going to continue with part 9, general eligibility and inadmissibility grounds. Answer all the questions yes or no. Do not lie to immigration. Answer truthfully all of the questions. And then number 22, they ask, have you ever been arrested, cited, charged, etc.? This is a question for the beneficiary, not the U.S. citizen sponsor. Then you come over to page 15 and you continue with the questions, yes or no. Read the questions very carefully. Answer the questions truthfully, yes or no. Okay, very important. You answer these questions truthfully. And then we're going to flip on over and we're going to be on page 16 of 24, and you still have more questions to answer to immigration, and then they go on to security related questions. Answer all these questions truthfully and honestly. Page 16. And then page 17, it continues. Okay, and that's where you get asked all these questions, yes or no. It's easy, ladies and gentlemen, to do. Now on page 18 of 24, they're going to ask you questions about public charge. And in part 56, I have got 100% pretty sure that none of these questions are going to apply to you. Okay, so don't just pass by page 18 and come on over to page 19. And they ask you in number 57, what is your size of your household? Well, the size of your household is going to be the husband, the wife, and any children that you are responsible for, and any so it's going to be your husband and any of your children, the family size. Okay, and you calculate it and you put the number in there. They ask, what is your annual household income? Well, obviously, as a beneficiary, you don't have a household income yet. You're not working yet. Or maybe you are. But if you're not working, you're going to put your husband or wife's total income in part 58. Number 58, indicate your annual household income. If you're not working, Mr. Beneficiary, put your husband or wife's total income. Check the appropriate box, including the household assets. And identify the total value of your household liabilities. Okay, well, what's a liability? Well, it's a house payment, it's a car payment, it's a credit card bill. And then they want to know, what is number 61 on page 19? What is the highest grade of school you have completed? Immigration want to know what your education is. My wife, Karina, she's got a degree in tax accounting, equivalency in the United States. And then they want to know, so you're going to put in your education and list of any certifications. So if you're a certified mechanic, if you're a certified tax accountant, or if you're a doctor or whatever, the beneficiary will put that information in number 62. And finishing up page 19 of 24, question 63 is, have you ever received supplemental security income, SSI, temporary assistance for needy families, etc. 64, have you ever received a long-term institutionalization, I can't say that long word, at government expense? If you put yes in any one of those blocks, I've got a good feeling that you are going to be denied your green card. So that's going to be a no, right? Now on page 20 of 24, they're going to ask you, it's a continuation of eligibility, inadmissibility grounds. Fill out the benefits that you may have received from the U.S. government and the institution that helped you. And then questions 67 through 75 is more questions about illegal entries into the United States and other immigration violations. Okay? Answer the questions truthfully. Immigration want to see truthful answers. And page 21 of 24 goes on to ask general eligibility and admissibility ground questions, 76 through 78B. Those questions you need to answer. They ask you here, having been deported, excluded, or removed from the United States. Have you ever been deported from the United States? And then they ask questions 79 through 86, miscellaneous conduct. Okay? Answer the questions yes or no, honestly and truthfully. It's easy to do. And question 22, part 10, is your contact information, your certification and signature. When you sign this form, Miss Beneficiary, Mr. Beneficiary, sign your full name, first name, middle name, last name, and I don't care how many middle names you have, you sign your full name so immigration can read it. Okay, that's number 4 on page 22. And then you put in your email address and your phone number, etc. Make sure you sign and date the form, and make sure you sign the form where the immigration can read your name. And then if you had an interpreter help you fill this out, you put the interpreter's information on page 22 of 24 also. On page 23 of 24, you're going to put in the preparer's full name. If somebody helped prepare this form for you, that's the person's name will go in there right there. And they will sign their full name so immigration can read it with their contact information. Okay? And then you go from part 13 is if you have a green card interview, that's where that will go. So you're going to move on from there. That's irrelevant to you right now. And then on page 24 of 24, the last page, we made it through all 24 pages. You're going to put in any additional information. If you have an address that's very, very long, that cannot fit on the page where it's requested, you can put it right here. This is my address in Colombia, and it's a very long address, so I have no room to put it on the requested page, so I put it here. Anything else you want to say about your case, you can put right here. Okay? It's a very easy form to fill out, ladies and gentlemen. You can do it. You don't need an immigration attorney to do this. I hope you found this information useful. I'm not an immigration attorney. I'm not giving you any legal advice, but I've got 10 years experience processing green cards and K-1 visas. It's an easy process. I do a live stream with my wife from Venezuela, Karina, on Wednesdays and Saturdays at 6 p.m. Central Time US, and then I'll do a live stream during the week, sometimes by myself, to catch up and help you with any additional questions. It's free of charge, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. This channel is a channel to help you get your green card for free and your K-1 visa for free, or K-2, or whatever the case may be. See you, and spousal visas too. See you at the live stream.